Hi everyone, Josh with Talk About Trek, and we're here today to talk about another Trek novel, and this time we've read Star Trek Picard Rogue Elements. Well, not read completely yet. As you can see, we are at the halfway point, which is a great time to stop and talk about this very fun book featuring this very cool character, Chris Rios. So for me, in Star Trek Picard, his character was one of the most interesting, and the ship, of course, was very interesting as well. I always wanted to know more about La Sirena, more about why does he have all these holograms that look like him but are all completely different personalities. So I picked up this book hoping that it would answer some of those questions, and so far it really has answered quite a few questions for me. So let's dive right into it and let you know how it goes. So this book starts on Varex 3, and you've got Rios looking to get a ship. And he's been given a tip by his good friend Raffi that these Iosians here can sell him a nice ship. So he's in the shipyard talking to two Iosians named Whoops and Burrs. Now, if you don't know what an Iosian is, go back and watch the TOS episode, A Piece of the Action, because it's a fun episode, and it's going to give you a really good idea of what these characters are like. But basically, what you're dealing with is a bunch of humanoid aliens who got a book about 1920s gangsters in Chicago, and it turned into their Bible. So they basically talk, act, dress like 1920s Chicago gangsters, even though they're flying around in space at this point. So he's found a ship that he likes, La Sirena, and he's going to take it for a joyride. Now, the Iosians, they don't really care for that very much. So they do chase after him, they rough him up, they even throw him into the trunk of a car, and they drive him over to meet the big boss, and her name is Ledger. And basically, they do give him a chance to get the ship on loan. He's got to make his first payment in a month, and if he doesn't, these guys are going to come rough him up, because that's their thing. So the next part of the book, you find Rios out in space, and is he working to make the payment? No. He's going on very big benders and getting completely drunk. So now, if you're not familiar with his character, he was in Starfleet, and something very terrible happened to him. So at this point in his life, this is about a year after that happened, he is trying to forget what happened and just do whatever he can to move on with his life. And what he's doing now is just having benders in deep space. And in one of these benders, he actually activates the previous captain's log, and he discovers that it is an old Klingon trader named Varangian. And this is where the mystery kind of unravels, I guess I should say. So this Klingon trader had a mysterious room in his ship, which was made to look like just a big storage room filled with junk, but was actually a hologram, or a holodeck in there. And the only thing that was actually in there was a small golden apple that kind of looked like a child's toy, like a toy puzzle. So that's kind of where this mystery starts. So after this, you have all these other characters that keep getting introduced into the story. You have first thing that happens is the Iosians, they show up, they want to collect their money. So they beam in with their big boss Arca, with 2 Ks. And in a neat callback, they actually say that this boss Arca was the one who was in the room with Kirk when Kirk was kind of laying down how the feds are going to come in and take over the Iosians. If you watch the end of the episode, you'll actually see there's a woman in a red dress, and I think that's who the author is meaning this to be. Which, again, it's a cool callback to an old episode, and you always like that. So, drunk in space, he's got caught up to by the Iosians, and they want their money. So what they're going to do is give him a business manager. So they put this Ledger on board, who's she's a character, and the way they wrote her is always fun, because every other line that she says is some kind of wackiest 1920 Chicago gangster line. So that's fun, and it's always fun because he is always pointing out how ridiculous it is that she's talking like that. And so he's kind of playing the part of, the reader, and doing that so often. So now they decide they're going to need to get a crew, they're going to need to get some work. So they do crew up, they get a Benzite, they get a Nausicaan, they get a couple of Midorians, and they get their first job. And their first job is shipping some ball bearings. So what they've got to do is they've got to ship ball bearings, I believe, to the planet Alpha Carinae 3 or something. So their Nausicaan is ready to beam them up, and he does exactly what he told. He beams up the ball bearings. but not the containers. So all these ball bearings go flying everywhere all over the ship, and they actually nearly kill the Benzite, who's put into sick bay, and that's where you kind of meet Emil, who is the EMH, who looks exactly like him. So this is the start of kind of unraveling the mystery of how he made those holograms. And it turns out that during one of those big benders, that's when he programmed all of these holograms that he has on the ship. So the Benzite is down, ball bearings are all over the ship, and they're not having a really good time. All of a sudden, Kivos Faja. Again, they're calling back. They're going back to these old episodes, and you gotta love it. So Kivos Faja was a character, and I think it was a TNG episode called The Collector or something like that, who kidnapped Data to add him to his collection. And really a very good episode, very fun episode, and a nice callback that they throw this guy in here. And apparently he's served his time since his bad deeds against the Enterprise, and is now just a collector again. So they're introduced to him, and they unload some of his junk, or some of their junk, off to him to look at, and basically have a nice little meal with him. And that's just part of the chapter. So I don't know if that's going to call back later to be something more, and I think it will. But again, just an interesting callback to just something else, you know. So now we're met with another new character. So in comes Hain the Ferengi with a gun. Now Hain is the old partner of Varangian, the Klingon. He's come in to look for Varangian to see what's going on. Rios tells him he's dead. Ledger shoots the Ferengi and takes him out. In the end, they end up deciding to be partners with him to finish the last job that this Klingon was supposed to be doing. And that was delivering manure. That's right. So in space, they still need manure. So they have to go and deliver this manure to this, what's called the Silvus Project. Now, the Silvus Project is actually, this is very interesting. This is kind of a cool idea. It is a project designed to take a world where it's unlivable, and they have these giant ships called hortiporters that they come in, and they have all the land pre-grown and pre-ready to go with everything there, and they beam out the old land and beam in the new land, section by section by section, to make like a livable world. And this is run by someone named Duke Javis. So they come to deliver this manure to Duke Javis, and then this is where the story kind of really the action really takes off. Things do not go how they want. There's a mystery afoot. Hain is poisoned, and Rios is in trouble. They've got to make a quick escape, and I'm not going to go into too much more detail from there, other than to say that I can tell that basically from here on out, it's going to be kind of a whole different ball of wax, you know. So they've kind of set up this whole story, and I think the cards are just going to start coming faster and faster. Dominoes are going to start tumbling down, and we're going to learn more and more and more about this ship. So here's the things that I'm kind of looking forward to going ahead in this. So like I said, one of the interesting things I always liked about Star Trek Picard just was La Sirena and Captain Rios and his crew of holograms. Now, I've always been a fan of Santiago Cabrera. Going back, I used to watch Heroes, and he was awesome on that. And I love the way that he plays all these different holograms in this show. So I'm hoping really that this book is going to explain, you know, how more of that comes into play. He's got like a navigation hologram, an engineering hologram, a courtesy hologram. So this is going to be pretty fun. So all in all, I got to say, really good book so far by John Jackson Miller, who is apparently a New York Times best-selling author. We are going to be back probably very soon, because once you start getting into something like this, when the mystery starts unraveling, you just want to read more and more and more every night. So I have a feeling that we're going to be back with the part 2 on this, probably rather sooner than later. So much more Star Trek news that I want to talk about too, so hopefully we'll be back with more of that too. As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.